So you're looking to get into DSLR photography and you've chosen Nikon as a brand, but you're not sure which camera to buy. Well, today we're looking at the entry-level D3400 and the model that sits just above the D5600. What are the differences and which is the camera for you? Well, straight away, one of the big differences between the two cameras is the price. The D5600 is a little over £200 more expensive than the D3400. And that's a big thing to take into consideration, especially if you're looking to get this as a first DSLR or as something to learn on. That is definitely something to take into consideration. The cameras themselves have a pretty similar design, so they look pretty similar externally, and internally they share some things as well, but there's also some pretty big differences. So the sensor on both these cameras is the same. It's a 24.2 megapixel CMOS sensor, which means you're going to be able to get nice sharp images. And what that basically means is in terms of resolution and in terms of dynamic range, and basically in terms of the kind of images and video you're going to be able to get out of these two systems, they're going to be practically the same. So ultimately the end result can be the same from both of these cameras. So you might be thinking, well, why would I spend the extra money on the D5600? Well, there's some pretty big differences as well. So one of the big differences between the two is the screen. So the D3400 does not have a touch screen. So a lot of people will be coming into DSLR photography from using their mobile phones, and they'll be used to touching the screen to focus or change the controls. And on the D3400, you can't do that. You have to use the buttons and the menus. Whereas on the D5600, it is a touch screen, so you can focus using that. You can change the controls on the fly, and it's generally really handy. Something else with the D5600, the screen is a flip out. So you can flip it out, you can rotate it, you can actually flip it all the way around. It's really handy for helping to compose your shots. It's really handy, so in the real world when you're kind of shooting over a crowd, for example, you can tilt it down so you can still see it. You can shoot from hip height and tilt it up. And if you like vlogging or taking selfies, you can flip it all the way around and take photos or film like that. So for most people, the screen is probably enough to recommend going for the D5600 over the 3400, but there's some other differences as well. So being the entry-level model, the D3400 doesn't have quite as many autofocus points as the 5600. That means it's easier to focus, it's quicker to focus as well on the 5600, which means if you're doing wildlife photography, sports, action photography, that is probably the better system to go for. It's going to be much easier to get those shots. The 5600 also has an interval mode, so you can create time lapses in the camera, which you can't on the 3400. Something big to consider if you're into video, or if you think that's something you might get into, the D5600 has an external mic jack, which means you can plug an external microphone straight into the camera and record audio through that, which you can't do on the D3400. That's a pretty big deal if you're into video. Anyone who does video will tell you that audio is just as important, if not more so than the video, and having good audio is really key. So that's a big plus for this camera if you're interested in that. Now you could use a sound recorder with the 3400, but at that point you've kind of spent as much as if you just bought the 5600 in the first place, so it kind of would make more sense to just buy the camera. That being said, both cameras shoot full 1080p HD video, they both have a built-in flash, and they both have Bluetooth connectivity. Now, the D3400 is a great first DSLR. If you're looking for something to learn on, it's nice and easy to use. If you're looking for something to get to grips with DSLR photography, it's not going to break the bank, and it's a really nice little camera. If your budget can allow, if you can stretch that far, the D5600 is a really nice camera. You're probably going to be a little bit happier with it for longer, so you probably won't feel the need to upgrade quite so soon. Plus it has all the extra little features, so if you're really into video or you think that's something you might want to explore, this is probably the better camera to go for. It's got that mic jack, and it's just a really nice camera. The screen is really nice, and like I say, the autofocus points as well make it a little bit easier, so it's a really, really nice camera. Now if you have any questions about either camera, pop it in the comments down below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe for more content, and as always, thanks for watching.